What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. As always, brought to you by BetParx. Get on over to that BetParx app right now as Jesus Luzardo on the mound as the rubber match of the three-game series against Chicago is this afternoon. You have a day game. We will get to Phillies conversation. You have to wait maybe 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Good morning to everybody out there watching live on YouTube as we have our 8 a.m.ers who join us live and follow along and comment. So if you're watching the show and you're like, hey, this is pretty cool. Yeah, comment. Be a part of the show. It's like our callers that we have, our regulars, all right? So you can watch live on YouTube every morning from 8 to 9 a.m. Of course, listen, I don't care if you watch it live or you watch later on. No, you can watch it on your schedule, on demand. Again, just make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting, etc. to PHLY's YouTube page. Also, and then we'll get to it, audio-only podcast for all you audio people like me that want to listen to the show. Maybe you watch on YouTube, you miss a show, and you're like, oh, damn, I couldn't watch this morning. Hey, listen to the audio. You can listen to me. You can listen to Tyler. Audio-only podcast is available wherever you find your podcast. Boom. There we go. All right. So Phillies lose last night. We'll get to that coming up in a second. I wanted to start this morning talking about the Eagles because they're in the OTAs and they're wrapping up the OTAs. And it just, we haven't really, hasn't been a lot to talk about with this team. Coming off a Super Bowl, you had free agency, you had the draft. Really, when you look at it and you look Nick Sirianni yesterday when he's speaking, everybody, this is mandatory. They had to show up at this one. Everybody showed up. No excused absences. No, well, I already had a wedding planned or I had a vacation planned, so I'm not going. Everybody, every member of the Eagles was present at OTAs, which is pretty amazing. And it shows you the difference between the Eagles and everybody else. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. Sometimes guys are just going to be unhappy and they're not going to show up. Whatever, but you know what the Eagles did? And you know what Howie Roseman did? After winning the Super Bowl in 2018 calendar year, but the 2017 season, he brought everybody back. He brought Alshon Jeffrey back on a new contract. He didn't give Nelson Aguilar a new deal, which he wanted, right? Like, guys came back, and guys were, there were some guys that were upset they didn't get the new contract. Nelson Aguilar. Right? There was division within the locker room. You can clearly see right now that that is not the case with this team. And yeah, it starts with the head coach, Nick Sirianni, but also a big factor in that is Howie Roseman being smart and saying like, okay, how can I have a preemptive strike about a guy that maybe rubs people the wrong way in the locker room, that wants more money, whatever it is. And I don't think there were a lot of those players, but certainly CJGJ. And I had said this pretty much right after the Super Bowl, that he was a guy that I would have circled as being kind of a malcontent, that not a bad guy, a really good player, but he's fighting with Darius Slay on Twitter, going back and forth. Clearly feels like he deserves new money or a new contract. And then you give guys new contracts. Zack Baun gets paid. Saquon gets redone. Everything else, even if he's not publicly saying anything, he could be walking around kind of mad. So regardless, this team has bought in. Everybody's showing up. And this is they're in a really, really good spot with all of these intangibles and these other things that we're talking about. Now, here's the biggest question. And when I look at the Eagles in 2025, I have really my main question and my main, I'm not going to say worry, but it's something that you think about is Saquon Barkley's health. How much of a workload can he take this season? Are the Eagles going to say, hey, we're not even going to try to get him 2,000 yards this year. We can't use him as much or he's going to break down. So we're almost looking at the offense a little bit differently this year. Saquon spoke. He talked about how he hasn't done anything in the offseason. He's really taken it easy in previous years. He's worked extremely hard in coming into the season, and he's taken a step back this year because he wants to let his body heal and rest, which is smart. It's not like he's a guy like like me that if he says like, all right, I'm not going to work out for 2 months because I want to take it easy. I doubt he's sitting on the couch overeating and getting out of shape. I don't think Saquon Barkley would be able to get out of shape even if he wanted to. He's just not built that way. Not like an offensive lineman or somebody like that. So Barkley is going to take it easy. It doesn't mean now he's going to ramp things up. It doesn't mean that he's going to be as effective as he was. So like those are one thing, like you kind of kick around with the offense, but ultimately it's not like this was a high-powered, we're going to score the ball, we're going to score 40 points a game type offense last year. Ball controlled, let our defense win. We're going to throw it when we need to throw it or when the defense says, hey, we're going to make you throw it. But really the passing offense is the passing offense of what it is. Like we run everything through Saquon Barkley, our offensive line, the tush push and everything else. And that can change from year to year. So if they decide, hey, we're not going to use Saquon as much this year in the running game, we're going to use him a little bit more in the passing game. We're going to throw the ball to our elite wide receivers. We're going to get Dallas Goedert involved a little bit more. So honestly, I think that the offense will be fine, whether it's like it was last year where it was like Saquon Barkley, 2,000 yards, let's go. The defense is the question. And I think it's fair not to question whether or not this defense is going to be good, but to whether lightning can strike twice. And Tim McManus, this was the headline on ESPN.com yesterday. Can lightning strike twice? Can the Eagles defense run it back? Because if there was a surprise last year for me, and really, it was probably one of the biggest surprises in my lifetime as a Philadelphia sports fan, the Eagles defense last year. I had probably said, because this is what I normally say going into a season, because they were bad the year before, can they be a top 10 defense? Can they be a top 13 defense? Now, can they create turnovers? Can they get sacks? Can they get stops? Because the Jonathan Gannon defense, where they got historical amounts of sacks, couldn't get a stop against a good quarterback. Remember, they were great against the bad quarterbacks. And then once you face an elite talent, boom, he would crush you. Jonathan Gannon bad against good quarterbacks. So, like, can they get stops? Can they get stops in big situations on third down in the fourth quarter? Or are we going to be watching the Eagles with 4 minutes to go in a game and the defense just systematically getting destroyed 10 yards at a time as the opposing team tries the field and wins the game? That did not happen last year. This defense was unbelievable. I didn't see it coming. Like really dominating the story of the Super Bowl, dominating defense, dominating Pat Mahomes, dominating Andy Reid, dominating the Chiefs. But this year, and you had rookies that contributed to a lot of that, which you can't always look and say, yeah, this rookie is going to contribute at a Pro Bowl level during his rookie season. And there was 2 of them, right? But the Eagles defense did lose significant contributors: Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, which a lot of people aren't talking about, and CJGJ, who, while I was concerned about him being a problem, is still a really, really good player. And you see the impact that he has on the defense. Yeah, like 3 years ago, he was excellent. 2 years ago, they were. Last year, they were excellent again. So can they run it back, and can they have an elite defense? Not just be good enough like I was looking for last year, but can they have that elite level defense? Significant turnover, losing a lot of veteran players that have been here for a while. Can they do it? Vic Fangio said this on the particular subject. He said, some of those guys, and these are the guys that he signed, in that second list have to become like those guys in the first list. And I don't know how that's going to turn out. But I look at us really basically the same 1 year to the next. The names have changed. Hopefully we'll get the same results from these new guys we got from a lot of the new guys last year. So in other words, guys got to step up. Ojomo's got to be the new Milton Williams. Some of the edge rushers that they added have to be Josh Sweat and contributors. The young players, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, have to emerge, have to become better players. And as far as the rookies, Campbell, Makuba, Ty Robinson, they have to step in and be contributors like the Eagles rookies did last year. Keely Ringo, is he really an outside starter? Or is he the next Mark Simoneau, that he's the guy that's going to be touted as being the replacement, and really he's not the replacement at all? And Adoree Jackson starting by midseason. I think they're all valid questions. I don't see much of a drop-off from 2024 for this Eagles defense. Are they the best defense in the league? Okay, maybe not. Are they a top 5 type defense? Yeah. You still have playmakers. You still have Jalen Carter. You still have this young, fast, explosive defensive line. You still have Zack Baun, who was a top 5 defensive player last year. You still have the main cogs. No offense to Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. I think Milton Williams is a good player. You can lose those guys as long as you have adequate replacements that are ready to step in. And it feels like that is the case right now with your Eagles. All right, let's bring in Tyler Zula here. We'll get his comment on this, and then we'll move on to the Phillies. Tyler, good morning. Would you be surprised if there was a drop-off on the Eagles defense? When I say drop-off, more than just a little bit. I'll leave it as a somewhat significant drop-off year to year.
Yeah, I think the difference is is it substantial? Because if it's a slight drop-off, I think that is plausible, not just because of who you lost, but here's where the Eagles ranked in some defensive categories last year. 2nd in points against, 1st in yards against, 6th in turnovers. They surrendered the fewest passing yards, the 10th fewest rushing yards, the 2nd fewest penalties taken, and they were tied for 1st in the percentage of offensive drives that ended in a score, 31.6%. They were tied with Denver and Minnesota for that ranking. They were legitimately the best defense in the NFL last season, especially after the Bucs game. From Cleveland to the end of the Super Bowl, they were the best defense in the NFL. So is it plausible they take a step back? Sure it is. I think it's just, maybe a natural regression of sorts. But do I think it's substantial? I don't, because of kind of what you just laid out. Your framework is in place, and your framework's been in place now since the beginning of last season. But more importantly than that, I think if you look around the defense and you say, who are the 4 most important defensive players on this team? The number 1, Jalen Carter, no doubt about it. Jalen Carter is the best player on this defense. Jalen Carter is a game wrecker. He's here for the foreseeable future. Who's number 2? Zack Baun. Zack Baun just got locked up to a long-term extension. He's not going anywhere. Who's number 3? Quinyon Mitchell. He's still on his rookie deal. He was excellent as a rookie. Who's number 4? You could argue it might be Cooper DeJean. So you're talking about 4 of your – and if DeJean's not 4, he's 5 or 6. So you're talking about 4 of your 6 most important players are here for the foreseeable future. And so, yes, you lose Darius Slay. I think it's a bigger loss than people are going to talk about. You lose CJGJ. I think that's a bigger loss than people are going to talk about. Losing Milton Williams and Josh Sweat is important, but I think if you have the ability to, as you said, kind of slide everybody up one spot, because you brought up a point and said, could the rookies be as good as the rookies last year? I am not asking that to be the case. You got 2 rookies last year defensively who are legit every down starters. I'm not asking Ty Robinson and Andrew Makuba and Jahad Campbell when he gets healthy to be that right away. But can everybody slide up one spot? I think that's a pretty fair ask. You're not asking Jalix Hunt to go from the 4th best edge to the best edge, right? So I think it's a fair ask to ask everybody to just kind of move up in the line one spot. And when your best players are locked in fairly long term, do I think they could take a step back? Maybe, but not you're not taking a leap back. You're taking a regression back.
Right. Nolan Smith would have to be if you were doing top 6 on defense, Nolan Smith certainly right there. He emerged last year. I mean, Jesus, Tyler, I was saying he's a potential bust candidate after the first year.
I think a lot of people were.
He takes that
undersized, wasn't getting to the quarterback.
And that changed, right? So, is Keely Ringo ready? We're going to find out, right? They're going to give him the first opportunity. And here's the great thing. If they don't think he's the guy in training camp, they probably have, does Howie have a backup plan right now? Does he have some names that they could bring in? I don't know. But they know what Ringo looks like. Vic Fangio knows what Ringo looks like. So, and then you had the veteran defensive coordinator. This isn't Sean Adai. This isn't that loser that has a pencil in his ear, the Belichick wannabe.
Matt Patricia.
Right. Like, this is, yeah, like Fangio showed last year. It's like, oh, all right. If you give this guy real players and you let him do what he wants to do, you saw what happened with it.
Yeah.
So
You bring up Desai and Patricia, and it feels like that was an eternity ago. And
it wasn't that long ago,
less
but you're
than
right.
2
Yeah.
years ago.
This portion of the show brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. All right, Phils lose last night. It looked like one of these games. Kepler hits the home run, and it looks like one of these games. I'm even thinking like, all right, like this is the game that gets these other players going, where it's like, you know what? We're not going to lose this game. Kepler's the guy that steps up tonight. And then you know what happened? The bullpen happened. And yeah, the offense only scored 4 runs, but whatever. The bullpen happens. So Mick Abel, who didn't have great command last night, gives up 3 solo home runs, but 3 home runs still kept him in the game. But if you have to go 5 innings with, stop me when you feel confident here, okay? Tanner Banks, Taijuan Walker, and I'm confident in Joe Ross. I'm in his hive, but Joe Ross for 2 innings, which is where the problem comes in. And then Carlos Hernandez. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to blow some leads. So we can fire Rob Thompson. We can complain about the lineup, and we should, because the lineup's got to be able to keep you in games more than just scoring 4 runs. Tanner Banks, Taijuan Walker, Joe Ross, Carlos Hernandez. And really, he doesn't have many other options. Kerkering can't pitch every day. Even Kerkering with his ERA, he feels like the Alec Boehm of the bullpen. Stats are better than the actual player. Alvarado is a really, really big loss. But even if they had Alvarado in there right now, man, Romano, you're back to kind of holding your breath when he comes in. This bullpen sucks. I mean, it really does. This bullpen is bad. Geez, man, I don't know. They're tough to watch right now. And you're going up against a highly explosive offense in the Chicago Cubs. And if your starter, and unfortunately, we've gotten spoiled with starters going 5, 6, 7 innings, pretty much every start. And now when you have a guy that can't even go 5 or 6, now you need an extra inning out of Joe Ross. That backfires. Now you need an extra inning. Well, and listen, Taijuan Walker's going to have to pitch. He gives up the home run. But still, this is rough right now. Dave Dombrowski, yo, bro, it's June 11th. I don't think I can make it to the trade deadline. A lot of trades don't happen. Big trades don't happen right now, but still, this is that's what happened last night. So as long as you win series and you have an opportunity today, day game, Jesus Luzardo back on the mound against a former Philly farmhand, Ben Brown, for the Cubs. Tyler Zulis, you know who Ben Brown was traded for?
It was David Robertson.
David Robertson, who the Phillies looked into, according to reports, and said, hey, we don't have Alvarado. Can you come? And he said he wanted $10 million for the year, and the Phillies quickly said, no, thank you.
You're 1,000,000 years old. We need you. How much money do you want? $10 million. Okay, we don't need you that bad.
Right. Well, he gave him an offer that he knew they would refuse because he doesn't want to pitch, at least not right now. So, yeah, man, it's I know you did your recap last night. You'll have a live Phillies watch along.
Yeah, we're going to watch
today.
Yep.
Cool.
You know, it's funny too. You bring up Kerkering, and the one thing that has felt like it's been, because you're right, his numbers are really good. He has like a 1 ERA since the calendar turned to May. In terms of earned run average, he's been awesome. He's getting out of some jams. The one thing that I think that is concerning for a lot of people, and I was curious the number, it feels like he gives up a lot of inherited runners. So, like the other night, he came in with a runner on second or third, I think, and gave up the run, and then gets out of the inning. And I think it was against the Blue Jays, or was it, who was the series? It was the series after the Blue Jays. Oh, it was against the Pirates, I think it was.
Yes.
So he gives up the run, not credited to him, and then he gets out. He goes an inning and gives up no earned run. So I was like, I feel like he gives up a lot of inherited runners. I was curious the number. If you had to give me a percentage of how many inherited runs he allows to score, what do you think it is?
Wow. 30%.
You're pretty close. It's 38. And honestly, I would have said it was higher. I'm actually surprised it's 38. But no, he has had he's been handed 21 inherited runners, 8 of which have scored. Now, of all pitchers across baseball, it ranks 135th, but I'm sure if you put, qualifiers on it, he would be much higher.
Right.
I think Kerkering does really, really well when he's given a fresh inning. When he starts an inning, the likelihood is he's going to give you a good inning. When he comes into an inning midway through, that's where I get a little bit concerned because his inherited runner numbers are not particularly strong.
Yeah, 30% is the league average for inherited runners scored. Obviously, details matter. So if you're coming in and with runners on second and third and no outs, it's more likely it's going to score than if you have a runner on first base and 2 outs in an inning, right? But to your point, there's always the guys that you feel good about coming in the middle of the inning, like they're not worried about working from the stretch. They don't care about that. And then there's other guys that like their relievers work from the stretch a lot anyway. But you get my point, right? Like some guys are better with fresh innings than other guys. I feel like that it's the same thing when you get guys that come out for 1 inning and then you're like, hey, can you go out and pitch in a second inning? And it never seems to work out. So, and unfortunately right now, Rob Thompson has he has no choice in the matter. He has got, I'm not even going to say an average bullpen. He's got a below average bullpen.
Yeah, it's a bad bullpen right now. There's no doubt. So you want to be, this is absolutely cherry picked and I use it just because I think it's comical. You want to be even more mad about inherited runners numbers. Yeah. You know who's 15 for 16 in locking down inherited runners this season so far? Jeff Hoffman. Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Oh, that burns. Has he been good? I haven't really paid attention.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I just he's got a 4.21 ERA and a 1.3 WHIP.
All right, so we'd hate him anyway if he was.
Yeah, 100%. God, I just thought that was funny. I was scrolling. I was like, let me see who's comparable, and I saw 15 of 16. I'm like, oh, that's such a cherry pick stat, but it feels like I have to use it.
All right, so let's do this because we have something with the ball strike. Robot ump ABS system that players are talking about. Also, Aaron Nola. What are we gonna do when Aaron Nola comes back off the IL? We may not have to worry about that as he has a new fresh injury. We have that coming up. What else do we have here today? No guests or anything like that. So it's going to be all us and all you. So get your comments in there and everything else so we can see. But this is one of these games where today I am holding my breath with Jesus Luzardo in a hot one today with the Cubs. Oh boy. All right, we'll talk about that coming up. Philly, John Marks, PHLY. Back at 2-2. Don't go anywhere. All right, Rothman Orthopedics. Let's talk about Rothman. If you're in pain, right? My prediction, pain. All right, well, let's get back to doing what you love, right? Biking, running, playing tennis, golf. Maybe you're just outside with your kids all the time. God, man, like chasing my kids around. Daddy, push me on the swing again. Daddy, let's do this, right? If you're not able to do the things that you love because you're in pain, right? Like you injure your knee severely or you break your leg, you go to Rothman Orthopedics because they're the experts in the industry. But what about aches and pains? You go out there and you want to play pickup basketball. You don't do it anymore because what your knee feels like afterwards, what your shoulder feels like afterwards. How about back pain, right? How about Rothman? Don't let pain put your summer on pause. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY. You can book your appointment today. You can get a lot more information, but just think about this. If you're living with nagging pain, and I've done it, and I feel like, I'll just more ibuprofen, more Motrin, cortisone shots. You don't have to do that. rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Rothman Orthopedics, getting you back to your summer game is their mission. Hoo-ah. All right, so about Ashley. So listen, the low prices are blooming for Ashley. Right now, 50% off living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms. And guess what it costs to get delivered? Yeah, you got it. 0. Free delivery. Long-term, no interest financing. That's what you do. You don't have to pay it off right away. Long-term, right? You have to be approved. But long-term, you can get the new dining room, the new bedroom, whatever it is, and you can say, okay, I get this many months. Man, we can pay this off just a couple $100 a month. Do it right now. Don't wait. Savings at Ashley and South Jersey and Philadelphia. Financing with approved credit. Minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for complete details. Hurry to Ashley. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. Hoo-ah. All right, we're back. Philly with John Marks. So there it is, Futz. First thing that came to my mind as well, Aaron Nola, it comes out yesterday that he felt something in his rib cage, in the oblique area. And he is, and it was, I don't know, I was described as being like, he just woke up one morning and it was giving him a problem. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that. So Aaron Nola is not going to throw for at least 2 weeks. And without knowing, with any real details or anything like that, the thoracic outlet syndrome is where you have that pain in your rib cage, and they end up like sometimes taking out a rib or things like that. It's nerves or blood vessels in the thoracic outlet, the space between the collarbone and the first rib. And it gives you pain and weakness in the shoulder and the arm because it's all nerve-based. So then it goes up. If you ever hurt your back and you feel it in your legs, like same thing, nerve pain. And this is where, this is a significant injury if this is what it is. So without really over-speculating it, the feel right now, based on the way that he pitched this year and kind of the way they're handling this, Tyler, tell me if you agree with this or not. The feel like this right now is this could be a significant injury. Maybe not. Maybe this is it is some type of a rib injury or whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into a much longer thing than just 2 weeks. So he's not going to throw for 2 weeks and then they're going to reevaluate him.
Yeah, so I was talking to my father-in-law last night and he goes, do they just put players on the IL sometimes? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Phantom injuries happen all of the time. It's roster manipulation at its finest, or maybe at its cheapest, depending on how you look at it. But I don't know, like, was the ankle really significant? Maybe, maybe not. It's possible that it was, but it feels like maybe this was a, hey, take a breather, take a rest type of thing. This now, however, might be a little more legitimate than what we've initially thought about. And when I say legitimate, I don't mean like I'm not saying they're faking injuries. I'm saying maybe a little bit more long-term than what we initially thought was going to happen. They said it was an ankle injury that he was going to miss a week or 10 days and then be back, back to throwing. We're now talking about, it's been 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Since Aaron Nola went on the IL, and now you're talking about another 2 until he starts to throw, which means it's probably 2 and 2 until he ramps up to be able to pitch at the minimum. You're talking about the middle of July by the time he's going to be ready to throw again, at the bare minimum. This is more serious than I think than they initially anticipated.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's live in reality here for a second. Pitchers are injured all the time, right? Like, you think that it's any signs of a something in their elbow or their shoulder or their rib, they're not trying to pitch through that. Aaron Nola doesn't say anything, right?
Right.
So like you had said with the ankle, this was described as a minor ankle injury that was giving him some problems. Based on the way he was pitching, it was easy to put him on the IL.
Sure.
BS. Obviously, maybe this is the first time he's talking about it, or maybe this was like, hey, listen, your ankle's bothering you. Let's put you on the IL. Let's get the ankle ready. And then they've taken their time with trying to bring him back. And then he starts throwing it, and he's like, yeah, I'm still feeling it in my rib. So now he gets imaging. It's being described as a stress reaction in the rib. So they're going to shut him down for 2 weeks, and he's not going to do anything for 2 weeks. He's not going to throw it all in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, maybe it's soft tossing, maybe it's long tossing, whatever. But the MRI showed this stress reaction in the right rib. So it is. I don't believe that the ankle is what's still keeping him out. Because you're right, Tyler. Like, we thought maybe this was just one of these 7 to 10 day reboots where it's like, all right, listen, take a start or 2 off. Like, you've thrown a lot of innings over the last 5 years, dude. Like, take a start or 2 off. Let's regroup. Let's reboot. You get back out there, you'll be fine. It never felt like that to me. It never did.
Yeah. Prior to the season, since 2020, Aaron Nola has thrown the most innings of anybody in baseball. And now that's Zach Wheeler. And so that goes to show you, like, since Zach Wheeler joined the Phillies, they've had 2 guys who have thrown a ton of innings. Now, Wheeler has been relatively healthy, which has been a blessing for this team. And so has Nola for the most part. This is really the first time he's missed extended time in years. Like Nola, you can pencil Nola in for 30 to 32 starts every single season. So I did feel initially that it was like a, hey, get off your feet for a week type of thing. Just reset, mentally reset, physically reset. Let's see if maybe a week off or 10 days off from throwing, get your velocity back up a little bit, because he was only throwing 90, 91.
Yeah.
And it was, there was not a lot of juice on his fastball. And so I thought it felt like that might have been the case, where it was just a mental reset, physical reset. Let's check back in 10 days. Now I think he's dealing with something actual. Like I don't mean, not actual, like seriously bothering him at this point.
Yep. Remember when it was almost like a canned response from everybody with Aaron Nola? It's like, and we used to say it all the time. It's like, yeah, well, all right, look at the amount of innings that he's thrown. Like, you're going to get 6 innings out of Aaron Nola every time he's out there, and that's why he's worth the contract. Maybe the same reason why everybody justified that contract is the same reason why they shouldn't have re-signed him, right? All those innings that we're talking about over the last 5 years, not every player is built to do that for 10 years straight. Right. So like
there was no rationale to say that he wasn't going to be that guy. Right. Like he is. I get what you're saying, but I think inversely, there was no rationale to say that he wasn't, because he never misses time. So like 9 years is good, but 10 years isn't. You know what I mean? Like,
but he had injuries before that, right? Like he hadn't been completely healthy. He was on a run where he was just logging innings. Like who like you had said it, 5 years he's thrown the most innings out of everybody in baseball, right?
Yeah.
So do we expect him to do that again for another 5 years? Because that's what justifies the contract, is the fact he gives you 6 innings every time he comes out. And he's a good pitcher, but he gives you 6 innings, 7 innings every time he comes out. So we're expecting him in years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the justification of the contract. We're expecting him to do that?
No, it's not for years 6, 7, and 8. It's for years 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just like everybody who has a long-term deal on this team. Now, that's a different conversation, because his is more about availability than it is about consistency. Because if you want to argue the numbers, the up and down fluctuation, like the good year, bad year thing, that's a fair argument to have. But I think in terms of like, he has not missed a start, or at least, if you're thinking about 1 out of every 5 starts, 32 is 1 out of every 5 starts. He's gone 33, 32, 32, 32, 12 out of 60, 34, 33. He has not missed a start, at least a scheduled start, since 2017.
Whoa.
So there is no reason for me to believe that all of a sudden again, yeah, maybe in year 6, 7, 8, no doubt about it. Like,
but when I say 6, 7, 8, I'm talking about this year is 6 or this year is 7. Not, oh God, man, he's under contract.
Actually year 6?
Yeah, because so we said 5 years he's thrown the most innings in baseball. So year 6 last year or year 6 this year, is it a reasonable expectation to think in year 6, which is this year, year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, that in 5 years, not the most innings in baseball, but top 10? I would listen, I'm not telling you that I even thought about this, other than to think, like, my thing always was like, do you really need to pay that much money to a 4 starter? Yeah, but he gives you so many innings. Like, he definitely does give you the innings, and there is there's obviously value to that. Can we expect him to be giving the same amount of innings based on the bullets that he's already thrown out of his arm? That's all that I'm saying. No, that's my worry about it. And it starts now, not in 5 years. Oh, forget about 5 years. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, now it starts. I think it starts now again, right? Because of the injury that he suffered, or the multiple injuries that he's sustained this year now. So I guess the inverse is, I guess it's easy to say in hindsight, you'd love to have the 20, what's he making, 27 a year or something like that?
24.6.
Right. In hindsight, you would love to be able to allocate that in different ways, especially with, guys coming off the books. And would you rather give that to Ranger Suarez? Like, I understand the thought process, right? I get it all. In the moment, if your options are Aaron Nola or Sonny Gray, or I forget, there was another one, but it was the conversation was Nola or Sonny Gray for a lot of people. Like, in the moment, who would you have gone with? Because at that time, I would have gone with Aaron Nola.
Yeah, I mean, I would have never given Aaron Nola that contract at that money. I said it at the time. I believe it right now. I believe that was an ownership decision. And what does Dave Dombrowski care? He's trying to win a World Series right now. He'll be in Nashville in 2 years if this team continues to regress. So, all right, so let's get to this.
He might be in Nashville in 2 years if this team wins a World Series.
That's true. That's true. If they get a franchise down there, he was trying to be the front man of that franchise. Yeah. Dave is getting a little bit long in the tooth, though. So let's do that. Pull up the tweet here, Tyler. So the Robo-Umps are coming, and it's the ABS system, automated balls and strikes. From The Athletic, they do an anonymous poll. Are you in favor of the idea of Robo-Umps calling balls and strikes? This is according to an anonymous player survey from The Athletic. So they polled 134 players. 85 of those said not in favor. You are not the father. 23 of the 134 are in favor of it, and then 26 of 134 are unsure. So I would be curious, and I don't have The Athletic, so it's behind the paywall, so I don't know what it was. How many are pitchers? Right? You wonder if pitchers are for it or against it. So 63% say that they're not in favor of it. And 23 divided by 124, 17% say yes, and a little bit more than that are unsure. You know, Tyler, I've always been for, probably like the last 2 years, really ever since they started putting that stupid box up on the TV screen, because now everybody thinks they're an umpire, and you can clearly see the guys when they miss pitches. Before, it was a lot of times guys would have their strike zone. So if they had a bigger strike zone. So you would get more of the corner if you had this particular ump. You would get more of the inside corner with this particular ump. In the American League, you would have high strikes called. When they used to have American League umps, strictly American League umps. So you would get higher strikes called in the American League. It was a tighter zone in the National League. And the reasoning behind that was they had the designated hitter in the American League. So they felt like they had to give a bigger strike zone. So and my thing always was like, okay, well, so is it a subjective thing with umpiring as far as balls and strikes, or are you trying to call it to the letter of the rule, which is this is where the strike zone in, this is how it should be called. Major League Baseball is telling you they want it to be called in a uniform fashion by wanting to bring in a robot ump. They're calling a strike, they're calling a ball. To me, that makes perfect sense. The problem is, do they have the technology to do that to where it doesn't affect the game? And I used to be 100% for this ABS system. I just don't know when they're going to be ready for it. Because when I did watch it in spring training, I didn't like it. So I don't know.
I have been a big proponent of human umpires still with a check system. And I don't need it to be what they're doing in the independent league, which is like truly a robot system, and it just signals down to the umpire. Umpire goes strike or ball, and that's it. I like the check system where if I don't agree with your call, I just go and we look at it and we take a look and we see, because like there are game-changing dynamic type of pitches that are called or not called. Like I think about the 2023 World Series. Could you imagine in the 2023 World Series if we had the ABS? Because the final pitch of the 2023 World Series was a called third strike. Josh Sborz threw the pitch. It wasn't a strike. It was a strike that night because it was like 9-0 or something like that. And the game was over. And could you imagine if we ABS the final call of the World Series? I think it would be comical. But right. I think there's an in-between where I'm okay with human umpiring because errors can be made. Umpiring is a difficult task. But I do think there needs to be a check because umpires for too long have gone on unchecked. There is no repercussion for being terrible at your job. Angel Hernandez for years was one of the worst umpires I've ever seen. Laz Diaz sucks. CB Buckner sucks. Joe West sucked. Now, let me ask you a question. How many good umpires can you name?
A guy who used to go to school with, Alan Porter.
Okay.
That's Happer Horsham
more
graduate.
Than most can do, right?
Right.
And the only one I go with is Pat Hoberg because he was the one that threw the perfect game in the World Series and then got busted for gambling.
Right. Jim Wolf, Randy Wolf's brother.
So when you say, hey, I can name more bad umpires than I can good umpires, I think there's merit to this system. Like when I was playing, My big thing was like, call the strike zone as it is. Just call the freaking strike zone. And the umpire's thought process was always like, if I'm consistent, then it's a strike tonight. I don't want to hear it's a strike tonight. I want to know what's letters to knees, plate to plate.
Right.
You know, if you give me a half a ball outside or half a ball inside, I can live with it. But when you start creating your own strike zone, that's nonsense to me.
Right. I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's a great point you make about the umpires, because I remember you brought up Joe West, but always knew the umpires' names. I always knew pretty much all the umpires' names. I guess it's better when you don't know the umpires.
I think 100% it's better when you don't know who they are,
because they're not instigating fights. They're not making bad calls. And here's the other thing. If you go on social media, you have accounts that track every friggin' pitch that's thrown.
Umpires,
and then they and then they rate the umpires. And it's so funny when they'll go through a game and it's like, oh my God, Laz Diaz missed 12, like not even close. Not even close. I was just quickly looking to see if there was a poll from the players before the pitch clock was rolled out. Because I can almost guarantee you that if you polled players or at least pitchers prior to the pitch clock being rolled out, they probably would have been against it significantly. So you remember Aaron Nola was bitching about it. Former pitchers were bitching about it. Mm-hmm. It's change, and nobody likes change. So it doesn't mean that because they don't like it, that they shouldn't do it, because clearly the pitch clock has been very successful in speeding up games and making it a much better, and it's so much more, the games are so much more enjoyable. But yeah, so it is a
John, that's a score. That's a scorecard from Saturday night. You're going to tell me that 89% success rate, overall accuracy, like, we shouldn't be checking that? He had an 81% called strike accuracy. You see how many pitches Brennan, and that's just one guy. You see how many pitches Brennan Miller missed in this game? There's like 15 missed calls there.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think players hate it until they actually have it. And they're like, you know what? Like, because I mean, honestly, I like, as fans, you kind of like being mad and bitching about missed calls, but like, yeah, that's fun until it screws your team and you lose,
right?
Because you get hosed, you get squeezed on should have been a called third strike. It wasn't. Then he walks him, then he gives him 2 outs, and then there's a home run and the game's over. Like, nobody wants that. And so I'm old enough to remember when people were against replay in the NFL. No, you don't want a replay. I want the calls right. That's what I want. I want the calls right. If the knee's down, great. I want more replay. I don't want to screw the game. I don't want subjective, like with the pass interference and replay in the NFL. They screwed that up. That was terrible, right? But if there's an obvious penalty, you grab the face mask of somebody, the helmet gets yanked, and it doesn't get called, why can't you review that? It's easy to review that with somebody that's up in the booth that sees it, slows down the play, says, yep, that's a 15-yard penalty. I like more replay. I just don't want the game negatively affected. And as long as they can do that, listen, ABS system's coming. The robot umps are coming 100%. In Major League Baseball. It's a matter of whether it's next year or not.
I've said I think it's the 2027 because the CBA is up after next season. I think it's going to get implemented into the next CBA heading into the 2027 season. And I just think that's a timeline that would work for most. It gives the umpires a year to prepare for it. It gives the players a year to prepare for it and understand the system. And it gets it written into a new contract, a new collective bargaining contract. So
put INS's comment up there, which is really funny about the seatbelts. Yeah, people did hate seatbelts. I was a little kid. I didn't wear a seatbelt. My grandmother was the only one that made us wear seatbelts. And she'd be like, click it. And I'd be like, always be like, not happy when I had to ride with Mimi. Meanwhile, she was trying to keep me alive.
Which is so funny because I think for me, it was just something that was ingrained in my head since I was a kid. You know, and you and I are not like that far apart in age, you know, right. But it's such a different mindset where legally it was mandatory, but it was one of those things where like my mom would be like, we're not leaving until you put your seatbelt on.
Right. Yeah. Like now, I had this written down for a random thought. I'll use it right now. If you listen to the Phillies broadcast, a lot of times you'll hear like, click it or ticket. This commercial brought to you by NHTSA. the National Highway Institute, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? It's literally a commercial that is being paid by taxpayer funds for you to make sure that you're putting your seatbelt on. You can't drive in your car if you don't put your seatbelt on. You can't drive without the damn beeping going off, which is perfectly fine because I wear my seatbelt out all the time. But so who's not wearing their seatbelt? I actually had somebody that I think it was a caller that called in that hates seatbelts so much they will click it behind their body so the beeper doesn't go off in the car and not wear their seatbelt.
That seems like a terrible decision.
That sounds like you're a total freaking idiot. You realize what happens if you get into a car accident? You realize how much, I mean, like the seatbelt saves lives significantly. And you don't like wearing, what is it? Oh, it wrinkles my clothes. You know what I do, Tyler? If I have clothes that wrinkle and I bring the shirt on a hanger and I put it on when I get to my destination.
Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah, the original seatbelt was around the waist. Yep. Yeah, so that's, just so you know, taxpayer money is going right to telling you to make sure you wear your seatbelt. Because trust me, before I heard that commercial, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should wear my seatbelt. Because before that, I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. I wasn't. All right, coming up, we have the BetParx Parlay of the day, which we're going to nail. We would have had it last night if it wasn't for the Phillies bullpen. BetParx Parlay of the day, a lot more still ahead. Philly, John Marks, PHLY. Why? Well, because we just talked about BetParx. Love BetParx. Let's get to the BetParx app right now. How about this? Philadelphia Day Baseball. Jesus Luzardo against Ben Brown. How about Pro Golf Open? Finals of Pro Hoops tonight. Pro Hockey Cup playoffs are in full swing right now. Live bet it all. Watch and wager on the BetParx app. So, player performances, player hits, home runs, RBI, strikeouts, points, rebounds, and more. And whether your favorite team wins or not. So, listen, maybe get up a little bit. How about live casino games? All right, brand new games like Huff and Puff, Fireblaze Sky Queen. That's a BetParx exclusive. So, you can play BetParx Blackjack, Roulette, Craps, Poker, Baccarat, and Hot Online Slots. Live dealer, by the way. And new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Just go to BetParx.com, download the app right now, and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, or Maryland for the BetParx app. You love to play. You play to win. You bet BetParx. BetParx.com, and bet on the Play Gun Lake app. How about that? Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk about Empire for a second. Empire today. All right, so if you're in the business of getting some new flooring for your home, Empire today, there's really no other place you could even consider. Don't go to the big box retailers. Don't do it. Piles and piles fill the aisles. Never seen so many styles. But then when you have questions about it, what happens? There's nobody here. Let's walk over a couple hours to hardware. Let's see if this guy's over. Hey, all right, let me check. Let me see if anybody's here. Then he comes walking over and he tries to answer your questions because that's what you get. Then you got to haul it away. Then you have to find somebody to install the flooring. Don't do that. If you go to Empire today, it's a one-stop shop. That's all they do is flooring. They live and breathe it. So you know you're dealing with experts. They're not dealing with plumbing. That's right. And they bring the showroom to your home, which is important because you want to know what it's going to look like in your space. So your walls, what color is your walls? What about your furniture? What about the lighting? You go to a showroom, and this has happened to me before. The flooring looks different under their professional lights as opposed to maybe what you're working with at home. Precise measurements are taken on the spot, and if you'd like, you can get installation scheduled as soon as the next day. So it is a free in-home estimate, but there's no tricks. There's no pricing games. You're getting clear, upfront, all-inclusive pricing at Empire today. Experts in the business, best price, installation as soon as the next day. You have so many options. You can see it in your spot. And right now, just for us here at PHLY, how about $350 off? That's right. Go to EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. Restrictions to apply, but $350 discount with your code PHLY. EmpireToday.com/PHLY. Hooah. Why? Why, Tyler Zulli? Why do the Phillies have to drive me crazy? Why? Why does... Go ahead.
Remember when it was fun to watch the Phils on a nightly basis?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
They were good
9
times.
to 10.
Yeah, they were good times.
So Jesus Luzardo today, he's given up 20 earned runs over his last 2 starts. That's in 5 2/3 innings. That's how your ERA goes from one of the best in the leagues as a starter to a 4.46 ERA.
Yeah, he jumped up 2.31 in 2 starts.
So how do you feel today? That's the question.
Listen, it can't be that bad, right? It can't be that bad after 2 consecutive starts.
No,
like I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think they win today because I think the Cubs have just been a unit lately and I think they're 18-7 in their last 25 games now. They've been playing some really good baseball all year. They're down to 5.85 runs per game.
Oh man, they're really struggling.
They're down to 5.85 runs per game. They were over 6 for a while in May. It can't be as bad as it was the last 2 starts. Now, do they score off of Ben Brown? Are they successful off of Ben Brown? That's the question that I'm most interested in because the stuff is definitively there for Ben Brown.
Oh yeah,
ERA is not. But if you look at all of his expected numbers and his metrics and stuff like that, he's better than what his ERA indicates. One of 2 things are going to happen today. The Phillies are either going to get to Ben Brown for 5 over 3 2/3, or he's going to throw 6 innings of 1-run ball and strike out 9.
Ben Brown last 2 starts, which goes 13 innings, he's given up 2 earned runs.
Yeah, it's really good
compared to Luzardo. So I agree with you 100%. This is an offensive game today, right? Like here's what Luzardo needs to give you: innings. He needs to give you 6 innings minimum.
Yeah, I think 6 is the minimum right now.
If he gives you 5 earned runs, okay, he gives you 5 earned runs. You can't get into the bullpen early. He can't give up runs and get into the bullpen early. This is a game for the offense. It's going to be hot. It's going to be in the 80s. I know that you don't have Bryce Harper. Kyle Schwarber hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire in the last week or so. He had 3 strikeouts, I believe, last night. So today, you know what? And we should do our BetParx Parlay of the day. Is today a Schwarber day? I think we might need to do a Schwarber day today. Let me take a look at the BetParx app right now. They need to score runs today. This friggin' offense, all right, you were winning games before with starting pitching and the bullpen had given you enough. No. Over the course of 162, you're going to go through waves where the offense needs to step up. The defense needs to play better. They were able to bunt for runs a couple nights ago. I need the offense today, Tyler Zulli. I do.
I think that it would be super beneficial for both, not just the Phillies, but for Jesus Luzardo's sake, if this team can jump on Ben Brown in the first 2 innings. If they can get a run or 2 in the first couple of innings, give him a little bit of leeway, a little bit of cushion to feel comfortable on the mound, I think it will go a really long way. I don't have a ton of confidence right now, not just because of Luzardo's last 2 starts. I just think the Cubs are playing better baseball than the Phillies are right now.
Yep. Kyle Schwarber's plus 235. They hit a home run today. Phillies on the money line minus 122. Considering you have Ben Brown on the mound against Jesus Luzardo, if this game's 2 weeks ago, the Phillies are much bigger favorites. Yep. But like you said, the Cubs are a good team. Offensively, I mean, like Ian Happ, or if he played 162 against the Phillies, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, Jesus God, man, he's smoking balls off of him. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have a ton of confidence in today's game.
Yeah, I think Schwarber has struck out in 23 consecutive games at least once. It's been a rough. Somebody asked me the other night. They were like, "Where's June Schwarber?" And I said, "Well, I think he was May Schwarber this year. He was excellent in the month of May, like really, really, really good." June's been a different story, obviously. He's not, I think he has 4 hits so far this month. He's really struggling offensively. I just don't think he's seeing the ball particularly well. Like last night, he let a breaking ball fall through the zone that in May he would have put into orbit.
Right. I saw somebody suggest putting him back in the leadoff spot for right now. Listen, he was killing it in the cleanup in the cleanup spot. That was when Bryce was batting third. I don't know. You gotta get him going. All right. So so you hit again last night, right? So you have seven. You have 7 in a row.
7 straight, yeah. So yesterday I took Mackenzie Gore, and thankfully I bought it down because the line was 6.5. I bought it down to 5.5 over under strikeouts, and he ended up with 6. He had 5 through 3 innings, and then ended up with 6 through 6. So glad we bought it down tonight. I am going to go to the Reds and Guardians wrap up. This will be the second time this series that I've picked a play on the Reds and Guardians. I'm going to go Nick Lodolo over 16.5 outs recorded. That's at -117. He's been way better on the road than he has in Cincinnati this year. He's got a 1.25 ERA away from Great American Ballpark. And on the road, he is 7 for 7 in getting those 17 outs required to go over 16.5. Now, Cleveland's been not very good against lefties this year. They're hitting just 218 as a team. They strike out at almost 29% as a team against lefties. I'm going to go with Nick Lodolo over 16.5 outs, -117.
All right. Schwarber is plus 2,000 on 2 home runs, which I'm not going to do, but I'm always curious to see where that is. You think Schwarber goes deep today? You think is today a good bet? He hasn't done anything in a long time, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, he's not, as we said, I just don't think he's seeing the ball particularly well right now. I would say that with a righty on the mound today, obviously he's been better against lefties, than he has against righties. But Ben Brown has given up 7 home runs this year. 4 of them have come to lefties. Lefties are hitting almost 300 against him with an OPS of nearly 800. I think if there was ever an opportunity for him to get after a hard-throwing righty, today would be a good day.
Sit fastball, work the count.
Yep.
Get a 2-1, boom. All right, so let's do it. We're going to do Kyle Schwarber at plus, what do we got here again? What did I say? It was plus 235 for a home run. Jeez. That's pretty crazy. All right, that's our BetParx Parlay of the day. One thing we didn't mention with the Phillies, Brandon Marsh leaves last night's game with a sore elbow. Just when you're like, hey, Marsh is playing better, now he's got a sore elbow. I didn't really get a feel. I guess I would be surprised if he played today, being it's a day game. But yeah, you hope that. Well, so if he has to go on the IL, this is the opportunity, Tyler, for Justin Crawford to come up. And so it feels like that maybe this is a, hey, Brandon, why don't you give it a rest? We're going to put you on the IL. We'll backdate it a day or whatever. Let's put you on the IL, and then you bring up Crawford. So this might be the opportunity to get Justin Crawford in the bigs.
Well, and I feel bad, too, because Marsh has been swinging the bat better as of late. He was 7 for 17 before leaving the game in the month of June. The walk-off on Monday night, 2 hits yesterday. Starting to see the ball a little bit better. I think the defense has been weird this year for Marsh because I think he's a better defender than what he's played, but I just don't think he's an everyday center fielder. I just think in a perfect world defensively, he would be a left fielder, but that's just not how it works for this team. I think that if Marsh is to hit the IL, which I don't know if that's the case or not, I think you're right. I think it would be a perfect opportunity to give the kid put him on the 40, bring him up, let him play 5 straight days, see what he can do. And then you evaluate from there because it's not a long-term answer right this second, but I would love to see the kid in a Phillies uniform.
All right. If you're watching on TV, slide on over to PHLY, allphly.com. We're in overtime. All right. We have game 3. It's finally here. They love to drag these NBA playoffs. So when was it? When was the last game? Was it Saturday night?
Sunday night.
It was Sunday night. All
Yep.
right. Feels like longer. The Pacers are at home for game 3. Series tied at 1-1. The Pacers are 5.5-point underdogs at home. Hooah. What do you think, Tyler?
That's actually more than I would have said. If you'd asked me, I'd have probably put it, not that I'm a lines maker by any means.
3.
I would have said 4.5 or 4.
Okay.
That's pretty. That tells me that Vegas feels like OKC's going to go into Indiana and win this game. Fairly consistently.
Yeah, for sure. It's an OKC line. This is the series. They go down 2-1, and the odds the Pacers winning this series are pretty slim as it is. But you can't go down 2-1, then you lose home court. The Pacers still have, and you can't live and die like this. but they still shown the knack for fourth quarter coming back. They don't die. Boom. I'm with you. I go -5.5 OKC.
I think I do. I probably take OKC on that line. You and I talked about it before. I said OKC in 5 before the series started. After the way that Indiana played in game 1, I was like, okay, maybe this could go to 6. But I still just think in the grand scheme of the series, the Thunder are a much better team. It's closer than I thought it was, but I still think they're just a much better team than the Pacers are.
Yeah, for sure. Money line's -215 if you like OKC. You don't want to mess around.
I think that's worth playing.
Till they're up by 9 points with 30 seconds left, and they drop a 3 and a 2, and it busts the line.
They win the game by 4.
That's why betting on the NBA is so nuts, because they could score 5 garbage points, and the spirit of the bet, which I always seem to win, but then when it actually comes to the final score, you lose because you get backdoored on something. So I don't know. All right, Tyler, live show today, but because it's a day game, what are you guys doing, PHLY Phillies?
We're going to do a little bit of a kind of a pseudo watch along. It won't be a full game. It'll just be an hour like a normal podcast will. We'll still do some podcast elements. We have some, paid sponsorship segments that we have to do. But we're going to do a 1 o'clock watch along, first pitch 1:05. So we'll do like a real quick pregame show and then right into the watch along, and we'll be with everybody for the first hour of the game.
Very cool. All right, everybody, we're back tomorrow live at 8 a.m. Climb on over and check out Anthony. He is live. We appreciate you watching or listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.